Hey, Ferol, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to have you. So, for those of you who have not met Ferol yet, Ferol Vernon is the COO of Written Word Media. The company helps connect readers with their next great read and provides a powerful ad platform for authors and publishers. Ferol is a tech genius, and he's worked on all kinds of technology products and projects, from medical simulators to web and mobile-based products for musicians, authors, and artists. So, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure about the genius part, but I appreciate the intro.
Absolutely, man. So, well, okay. So, tell us about your background. I mean, you're a tech guy. How did you get started working in the kind of mobile web space for authors and publishers?
Sure. So I took kind of a winding road to get here, but I'll try to keep it brief for your audience. I've always kind of been an entrepreneur at heart. I've always kind of been a tech guy. I was, running my lawn mowing business at 15, that kind of thing, always kind of hustling. And when I took my first job at the nonprofit that did medical simulators, it's kind of where I was introduced to technology in a more formal sense. I learned how to write code, started getting really interested in building websites for people. So I would, work during the day, I'd go home and build websites at night and that kind of thing. And then what I realized is, as much as I love technology, I really loved the business of running a business, but kind of knew what I didn't know and really needed a little bit of a power up. And that's when I went and got my MBA at Duke, which was an amazing experience. Met a ton of people there. And I ended up in the music business, which was not what I had decided to do, but there's a technology business in Durham called Reverb Nation. And so I spent about 6 years there, learning how to build, scalable technology, building software for musicians to help them market and promote their music. And then a little over a year ago, my wife had been running this business called Freebooksy. And we had talked about how big that business would have to be and how successful it would have to be for it to make sense for us to join forces. And we kind of got there a little over a year ago. So for a little over a year, my wife and I have been running Written Word Media, which has been an amazing ride. And so I've kind of personally made the transition from building software to help musicians promote their music to building software that helps authors promote their books. And Written Word Media is a media company that has about 5 websites, all of which do variants on the same thing, which is provide access to authors to access our list of readers. And that's kind of that's the short version.
Awesome, cool, man. So it was your wife's project, really.
It was her project. We decided to sort of team up and join forces a little over a year ago, and it's been a really fun year.
That's awesome. Cool. So maybe you can give some insight into kind of like why she started Freebooksy, because let's talk about that.
Okay. So originally she started Freebooksy because her mother was an author, writing in the nonfiction space. And she was trying to, she'd never written a book before, and her mother was trying to give this book away. And there just wasn't a lot of places to do it. And so Freebooksy became sort of like, okay, well, if a website doesn't exist to give away free books, let's build one, right? And so she put together this website and started giving away free books. And then all of a sudden authors are saying, well, that's great. I love your site. Can you promote my book? And so that was kind of around the same time when KDP was rolling out their free promotional days. And things just kind of took off from there. And so that's really the impetus for this whole blossoming business, was really to help, one person and one author. And it kind of got started there.
That's awesome. So now, I mean, today, are you guys still only promoting free books, or do you promote other kinds of books as well, like paid books?
So today we have 5 websites. Freebooksy is still, one of our bigger sites and definitely promotes free books. We have Bargain Booksy, which promotes bargain books under $5. We have recently launched New in Books, which is a site exclusively focused on new releases in the past 90 days. And that promotes full price books, including not just ebooks, so paperback, hardcover, audio, etc. We have Red Feather Romance, which is an erotic romance site that is, again, there's no price restriction on that. Any book in that genre can be promoted. And the last site we have is called A Year of Books, and that's following Mark Zuckerberg's 2015 New Year's resolution to read a book every 2 weeks. And so we're following his journey and emailing people when he picks a new book, so everybody stays up to date with what he's picked.
Very cool, man. Awesome. So, I know you've worked a lot in the tech industry. You've got a lot of experience there, and now you're starting to work more and more with authors. And I'm always curious to talk to tech people, because I'm not a tech guy. I mean, I know a little bit, enough to build websites and some basic stuff, but it's not really my specialty. But I'd love to ask, are from your viewpoint, what are some of the key things that you see that authors could really learn when it comes to technology, embracing new technology? What are some of the mistakes that they're making and maybe ways that they can fix those?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think that there's a lot of things that are pretty easy right now. I think the suite of off-the-shelf technology that's available at the cost that it's available right now it's really cool to be sort of an independent, marketer and author and person who's trying to make it. And so some of the big things I see is when authors don't manage a mailing list, that's a big mistake. They should have their own mailing list. There's a variety of email mailing list tools out there. MailChimp is a really popular one that's pretty easy to use. iContact, Constant Contact. Most of these services are roughly the same price. They're really robust, and any author who's going through the trouble of getting someone to read your book, which is, as you probably know, it's no small feat. Once you've got somebody to read your book, build on that relationship and keep their email address. And that doesn't require a lot of technical expertise if you know how to write, which most authors do, and you know how to kind of use some web-based tools. You can manage your own email list. So I think that is definitely far and away the number one thing where technology can really help an author.
That's awesome. What about anything else? Any other great tools that you recommend for other authors?
Well, I think Amazon is certainly where a lot of stuff happens today, but I still think it's important that authors have their own website. And there's a variety of tools out there to build their own website. I'm a big proponent of WordPress because it's an open source project and it's very widely supported. But depending on your level of technical expertise, it can be a little daunting. But I would recommend either WordPress if you feel like you've got a little bit of technical background and software doesn't scare you, or Squarespace is another really great option that is very easy to use. Really helps you make a beautiful looking page without a lot of work. And so those are the kind of the two things I would recommend. There's a variety of other solutions, all of which are pretty good. But those are the two that I would kind of mention by name.
Awesome. Yeah. And by the way, I've got a free training series for anyone who wants to learn how to use WordPress and build your own website. Just check out blogbusinessschool.com and I'll walk you through that whole process. So, there is a lot of technical stuff to it, but if you just follow training videos, it's super, super easy.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I like the most about WordPress is there's a really vibrant community of support out there. So many people are using it. So many people are trying to do interesting things with it that pretty much any question that you have can be answered by somebody or has been answered by somebody already out there. You do have to have a little bit of time to hunt for that answer, but it's usually out there. And I find that really being part of a community like that's really exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that too. Like anytime I've got a problem with my website, I'm just like, how do I add this code to this area of my site with WordPress? And like you always find like the answer right there on Google.
Yeah.
Someone else has done it for you. They got the code for you, just copy and paste and you're done,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I know you've written a couple articles on, some in different industry websites and stuff like that. And you've done a lot of research on the ebook pricing. So I want to talk about that a little bit.
Let's do it.
What were some of the results that you found with all the research you did on ebook pricing and the best price points for authors?
Yeah, so I think, one of the answers that I always hate when people ask questions like that is it depends, but unfortunately that really is the answer here. And so I think, we did most of our analysis on lower price points. So people that are pricing their books, $9.99 or above, we didn't spend a lot of time analyzing them, but we do have a lot of data on lower price points. And so where we kind of came to was for every author, it's a very personal decision. But it's really a trade-off between getting more people introduced to you as an author and your work versus selling copies of books. And so if you think about kind of the way to approach this is the more people you have paying attention to you, the bigger your audience is for your books, the easier it's going to be to sell to that audience later on. You look at somebody like a celebrity like LeBron James or somebody who has a huge audience, and if he were to write a book, he could introduce it to his fans and it would sell 1 million copies. And the reason why is because he's built that audience. And so for authors, you've got to decide where in that continuum you are between trying to build your audience versus trying to sell something to your audience. And so I think if you're trying to build your audience, then you want to remove as much friction between the reader and your book as humanly possible. And price is a big piece of friction. And so that's where if you're really trying to build your audience, going free with your first novel or the first in a series is a huge way to make some headway. If you're not comfortable with that, going at a lower, $1.99 or 99 cents is pretty close. And you start really building your audience with these lower price points. And then once you start building that audience, and you've got people that are, hanging on edge for the next book in your series, or people that know that you write a great version of nonfiction and they're kind of waiting for the next one, that's when you can start to raise your price point. That's when you can actually start to harvest that audience, and that's when you start pricing your book closer to $3.99, $4.99, $5.99, and so forth. And so that was kind of what we came to, is kind of between the continuum of free and say $5. It's really a decision for authors between how big you want to build your audience and how many new people you want to be introduced to your content, versus how much money you're trying to make and how many units you're actually trying to move with that given promotion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. I love the way you break it down between, building your audience versus selling to your audience. And, it always kind of amazes me when, someone's like, brand new author, first book, no audience, no platform, no website, no promotion yet. And they're like, I'm going to sell my ebook for $9.99 and, sell so many copies. And it's like, well, hold on, like you got to start somewhere. You got to build your audience somewhere. Yeah. And I think the really cool thing for me about publishing books is that, you can turn the book not just into a product, but a tool to build your audience, to build your platform. So when you sell your books at those low price points like you're talking about, you can build your email subscriber base, you can build your website traffic, you can build your platform and your audience. And then as you write more books or publish more books, you can raise your prices and so forth and earn more money. But, everyone has to start out somewhere, right? And so if you're starting at zero, it's like the easiest way to get up there is to lower your book price so you can actually get people, like you said, to remove that friction to get people to buy.
Yeah, and I think, for a lot of authors, it's difficult because they put a lot of time and effort into writing a book, right? And to simply, in some cases, it could take them a year or two, and to simply give that away for free, it feels a little wrong. But I think that, the truth of the matter is that authors and independent authors are small businesses, and they need to think about themselves that way. And so really what they're doing is they're just creating, like you said, their first piece of content to introduce people to who they are. And then that's really the way to approach it is, take a piece of art, make it into something that is, marketable and true, to actually get it into the hands of people so they can actually consume it. And then, build that audience. You've got a lot more leverage if you do it that way.
Definitely. Totally agreed, man. Yeah. So I'm wondering if you could give some insight into, your websites like Free Booksy and your book promotion sites. Because you basically authors pay you, or, sometimes I think you have free promotions as well, but, you're promoting authors' books, right, as a service. Yep. And you're actually tracking how many sales you're generating for these various authors, right? So I'm wondering if you can share with us kind of some of that data, and I don't know how specific you have to get, but, with versus email versus selling books on the website, like where are you actually driving sales from? What tools are you guys using to actually sell books for authors?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I think, and I can give you a solid answer without specific numbers, but I can tell you that far and away, we sell most books through email, right? And I think that a lot of people have a bad connotation with email, just because everybody's got an annoying spam in their inbox. But the truth of the matter is, from a reader perspective, they've signed up for this and they want to get these books and they want to know about these books. And so it's still a very intimate way to communicate with a customer and a reader. Most people are checking their email on their phone or on their laptop. So you're right in their pocket, you're right at their desk, you're right there with them when you're sort of talking about your book. And I think that certainly for Free Booksy and Bargain Booksy, the website's an important tool for people discovering it and people bookmark it and come back to it. And New in Books, which is one of our newer sites, the website's a very important piece. There's a lot of editorial content around books and bookish things, and people who are really trying to stay up to date with like the news of what's cool and new in books. But certainly in terms of direct sales, email is, I'm a huge proponent of email. Email is a great way to sell books to people.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's kind of what I figured. It's like everyone I've seen in the industry is email is the way you sell books, and it's great to have website traffic and you can convert some people there. But yeah, I think one of these things that holds a lot of authors back is they think that, well, like you mentioned with email and spam and, people don't want to feel like you're, pushing something to your audience. But what I've learned to do with email marketing is like, look at it as like a service. Like I'm providing a service to these people. Like the people who sign up with Free Booksy, they want those emails. They can't wait to get the next email with the next free book. Like you're providing them a service. And so if you look at, building your email list as a service you're providing to your customers, I think that helps, transition from that mindset in a way that will really help you add more value to your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see this all the time. And I think, if you look at the newsletters that you kind of don't like to read, or the ones that you're always either marking as spam or deleting, those are ones that usually have a lot of ads in them. They're all jammed with tons of stuff. And if you just sort of pay attention to the way your emails look and how they're designed, and you don't add a lot of clutter into them, and you make them clean and give the user information, which is what we really believe is the right way to do email marketing, then you're going to have a lot of success. And it's just like you said, people are going to see it as a service, not as an annoyance. And so I think, and we polled our readers, they love the emails. We actually have people who write in and say, hey, how come I'm not getting this email anymore? And we have to tell them how to put it in their promotions, out of their promotions tab or something on Gmail. And so I think that people really do see it as a service, and they get upset when they don't get the emails.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about kind of your traffic strategy then, because you've got the different websites, you're driving tons of traffic there, and then once people are at your website, they're getting on your email list and you're selling them the books, right, for other authors. So how's the whole process start? I mean, where are you getting that traffic from initially?
Yeah, so a lot of sources, and I think it depends on which website you're talking about. So we sort of treat each one of our sites, each one of our brands, as a different personality, right? A different trusted friend that's recommending books to you. So you get to know New in Books, and then you kind of understand that, oh, this is a great place that's recommending books to me, and this is kind of the angle on discovery that they're presenting. And so I think that, I'll give you New in Books as an example. We have a lot of traffic coming from the articles that we're writing there about books. We're doing lists of books that you might like if you like this particular author and things like that, and really trying to get at how to introduce people to new content. And so I think we have some organic traffic coming from searches. We have a lot of referral traffic from people who have read that article and they say, oh, this is cool, and they post it on their blog. And we have a lot of traffic coming directly from emails I mentioned before. And then we do a lot of paid advertising, and we do that to build traffic and to build our list. And so we run ads, and we're very heavily into the quantitative analysis that goes with running online ads, and we're really, really good at that. And so what we try to do is build these audiences with our online advertising, and then be able to let the authors of the world access that audience, so that they don't have to spend all their time in Excel and learning Google AdWords and Facebook ads and all this kind of stuff. And so that's really maybe a little bit of a winding answer to your question, but I think there isn't really one overwhelming source that does everything. Each different brand is kind of its own picture, its own way to build traffic. And because of the audience is different, the strategies for building traffic to that site are a little different. So that's kind of the way we see it. It's a little, every little piece of the pie helps in terms of traffic.
Awesome. So what kind of ad platforms are you guys using?
We use Facebook ads heavily. We use Google AdWords. We do a lot of partnerships and deals with bloggers and other websites and things like that. We buy custom ads places. We're kind of a constantly experimenting shop when it comes to that. So one of the things that you're getting when you're an author and you work with us is whatever the newest ad platform is, chances are, we've done the analysis to figure out if it's going to work for us. We've tried it. We've gotten, all the numbers to work out as best we can. And so we're constantly experimenting with every platform, but, the big ones, Facebook and Google, is where we spend the bulk of our time for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know you're big into data and analyzing all the data and demographics and everything. So I'm wondering if you can share some of that with us. Who are these readers who are going to, and I know you got different sites for different markets, but generally speaking, who are the people who are buying, let's say, discounted ebooks online and going to those sites? Yeah,
so it's tough to say exactly who they are. I can tell you that our audience is mostly female. They're mostly a little bit older, but we target ads not at those demographics. We target ads at behaviors. So we target people that read a ton of books. We target ads at people who are the right kind of audience for our readers, and we don't really target them demographically, but that is the demographic that ends up sort of consuming a lot of these books. It's people that have the time to read a lot of books but don't want to spend a ton of money on them. And the great thing about the book landscape today is that they don't have to. There's lots of authors out there that are writing great books at very low prices, like we talked about earlier, to build their audience. And the benefit to readers is they get some really great books at really low prices, and I feel like it's a really healthy trade. You read a book for $1 or $2, you really like the author, and then maybe you buy the next book for $2 or $3 or $4. And I feel like it's a good move for the independent author. It's a great thing for the reader. So I think that balance is a really healthy thing in the market right now.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So I know. Well, let me ask about marketing books for different platforms. So are you guys marketing just Kindle ebooks? Are you doing Nook and iBooks and Kobo and the other stuff? Where are you guys sending traffic, and what do those sales look like?
Yeah, so not all the platforms are as forthcoming with sales data as we'd like them to be. So for example, Apple is, they do pay out sort of an affiliate, but it's very hard to back into the actual numbers on a per title basis. We do, work with Amazon primarily just because they're the biggest, and that's where most of the people who want to read books go to get a book these days. But we do promote the other platforms as well, Kobo, iBooks, as well. So Nook as well. So we haven't picked any particular platform that we prefer. Amazon's the biggest, so we spend a lot of time promoting there. But if you're a user and you sign up and you say you prefer to read on a Nook with one of our websites, then you only get titles that are available on that device. And so we're device agnostic, so to speak. But Amazon is such a big player in the space; they do dictate a lot of what happens.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Amazon is definitely number one. So what is like number two with your audience? What's the next biggest platform?
That's really tough to say. I think Nook and Apple are certainly fighting it out for that. I think what's really going to be interesting to see, I'm sure everybody's read the news about Oyster shutting down and how a lot of that team is moving on to Google. And so I think Google's, and Oyster, I don't know if you ever used it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful reading platform, a really cool app. And so if some of that innovation goes to Google's way and allows Google to launch a book platform, I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch. And I think that who's going to kind of come up and actually make a go at Amazon and try to sort of compete with them, I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch play out over the next couple of years.
Gotcha. And then so not much hope for Kobo then? That's kind of the bottom of the barrel right now?
Well, I don't think that's true at all. I think Kobo has a huge support base, and I think that we have a lot of sort of users who really prefer that platform. I think they, like everybody else, are in the world where they're kind of, they're not US-centric. I think they're Canadian-centric. But, I wouldn't say Kobo's bottom of the barrel at all. I think they have a really interesting stuff that they're doing. They've got a great sort of set of merchandising and a great set of offerings. So I think right now, Amazon is certainly in the lead by a lot. But I think kind of who's going to be next, I think there's a lot of exciting people out there, and it's going to be kind of anybody's game.
Awesome. So definitely we'll keep an eye out on Google and see if they do any cool new stuff with Google Play. Yeah. Cool, man. So any last words of advice or wisdom you want to share with our audience?
Well, I think, for me, what I think is really important for authors to understand is that, promotion is a really important part of writing a book. And no matter how wonderful your book is, if you can't get it into people's hands, then you're not allowing other people to enjoy that work. And so, we really pride ourselves on being able to offer really great promotional services and letting authors do sort of the writing, right? They create the package, we help them market it. And I think that that's really served us well. And I think authors are responding to it. And so I think that, an author who is writing a book should keep sort of, marketing and promotion in mind, and really, plan promotion not as an afterthought, but as sort of part of writing their book. The book's not over until you've marketed it and actually tried to get it into people's hands, because that's when some of the magic is going to happen in terms of getting feedback and actually, being visible to a larger population.
Awesome. Definitely, man. Well, thanks, Ferol. You shared a wealth of wisdom with us today, and I really appreciate it. Everyone listening right now, we'll have all the show notes at publishingprofitspodcast.com. We'll have all the links to Written Word Media and all their different book promotion websites you can check out. I highly recommend checking them out. Test them out for your next promotion and see how it goes. I know we've had some success with Bargain Booksy and Free Booksy as well. So thanks so much, Ferol. I really appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was great being here.
All right, man. Have a great day.
You too.